Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you. It's Polysign, and can we lease our XRP? We're going to talk about it. Danelle Dixon's in the news, and Coinbase and FLR. My goodness, you're going to want it if you haven't heard it. Ripple Global Payments and SEC adding attorneys. Uh-oh, ladies and gentlemen. And we got an update. SEC versus Ripple. SEC filing a letter in support of its summary judgment. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on YouTube and Twitter. That's where we're at. Don't forget to give us a follow, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, Bitcoin right now, 30,200 plus. Ethereum, 1895 and change. Tether market cap, 80.6 billion plus. Just going to say it. 50 cents for XRP. We're off by 3.2%, wiping out the gains from yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Burafado from Link2 family here. Polysign will be back on Link2 platform today at 8 a.m. Pacific time. That is not too long from now, ladies and gentlemen. There is special pricing, ladies and gentlemen, until 8 a.m. Pacific time Thursday. Obviously, this is accredited investors only, but I tell you something, they have done such an incredible job of getting these companies on this platform. Silicon Valley meets Wall Street, compliant institutional custody, proprietary blockchain technology, and groundbreaking security. Our mission at Polysign is to drive global use of digital assets by building best-in-class infrastructure that enables institutions to secure, transact, and digital assets across the capital markets and payments sector. I am so excited because you know that they're compliant. And I'm telling you what, you're going to be excited on this too. Shout out to Ray Fuentes for sharing this interview with Jake Claver and Molly Elmore, and it is fantastic. I'm going to bring us in here. We're not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to give you the part where we've all wanted to know about whether we could lease our XRP and whether Polysign could or could not help with that, and it's quite an interesting response. Listen to this.
And then what would, we have this idea that I don't know if it's true, that we could sort of have Polysign help rent our XRP out for some kind of return as it's used in exchanges. Is that an accurate option?
So they do not provide any investment solutions. They are only the custodian, the fund management piece with MG Stover, and then they also have AtomicNet as their third subsidiary underneath the Polysign umbrella. And that's for the settlement of transactions for digital assets or tokenized assets. They will partner with other fiduciaries that would do this traditionally. So when I set up infinite banking, I will have to go to Goldman Sachs or Fidelity or Merrill Lynch. And I have that policy, and I'll say, hey, here's this asset. Will you give me a line of credit against it? And then they will issue the line of credit. So it will be very similar to that with Polysign. Polysign will custody the assets. It'll be insured. They provide the security third party that's trusted between everybody. And then they'll partner with the fiduciaries like the Goldman Sachs, the Fidelities, the Merrill Lynches, all these other investment banks would then offer those lines of credit against whatever the assets that they're holding. And then as far as renting it out or leasing your XRP, they're working on a solution to be able to do that. They already offer staking with Solana on their platform. And they're working, and I think they already have this, for Ethereum. They have a way to custody your Ethereum there with them, but because it's proof of stake, it has to be delegated, right, in order for you to earn or generate the return on it. And so they have a way of being the owner of your asset, but also delegating it as well so that you can earn those returns. But that's not something that they currently offer on their platform. I think
this is really kind of where we kind of all see this holy grail moment that we could eventually someday put up our XRP and lease it out to market makers And obviously that would be incredible because then you'd never have to sell it. And that is really a moment we're waiting for. Great interview with Molly Elmore and Jake and Beyond Broke. Give him a follow. You know I'm following his ass. I know that. He's doing great things over there. Shout out to Jake. Look, this is a moment that I really do want to see take place. So make sure you give him a follow. Click the link underneath for a link to check out Polysign. Hong Kong securities regulator followed the U.S. and France in seeking to regulate decentralized finance, DeFi, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I'm showing this just to show that the world is following suit together when it comes to DeFi. They're a little scared of it. Donnell Dixon, the CEO of Stellar. U.S. needs to regulate stable coins to keep a strong dollar. You know, I'm reminded of when Brad Garlinghouse said, I don't know why we need 10 different stable coins. It makes me think that, you know, if you think about it and we get a official U.S. digital dollar done the right way, respecting privacy, of course, why would you need all those different stable coins? You know, I've said it many times. I believe there's a chance that we get stable coin legislation before we see crypto regulation. And I really align with what John Deaton has said, that it could be 2 years plus before we see crypto regulation broadly. So stablecoin legislation could be very important for the market, no doubt about it, just as is custody and being compliant like Polysign is. Now, here's some news we've all been waiting for a long time. Coinbase has now begun the FLR token airdrop distribution for eligible users on Coinbase. And it says simple and advanced trade and simple and advanced trade and Coinbase exchange in all approved jurisdictions. I tell you what, this has been a long awaited moment, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness. I mean, how long are they going to hold on to our property? It's not even theirs, right? Meanwhile, Wrath of Common, give him a follow. Tracking in 2018, Ripple announced 5 new partnerships. And it's going back a minute when the products were broke down into different things. If you remember XRapid, XVIA, and the different products they had. He talks here about trying to establish whether these relationships with these companies have changed, have they deepened, what is it? It's still a question, but he obviously is a great influencer and researcher here. And he says Ripple announced 5 new partnerships back then in 2018, and using XVIA, Money Match and Rational FX are well known, but what happened to Fair FX? Some interesting questions and possibilities. When we get through all of these connections here, he comes down to the point that I want to find here, just for time's sake, right, to move through this, and you should go read the thread. But he says basically here, where does that leave us, talking about all these connections? Ripple user Fair FX grew beyond FX to a money management platform. They rebranded as Equals Group or Equals Money. Fair FX website still there. I imagine they share FX connections, i.e. RippleNet, question mark. Are there new synergies in Equals Money platform? Alternately, they could just use Ripple for some FX still, and that's it. In which case, hopefully an expansion of the company's business reflects a concordant expansion in RippleNet use. The moral here is that the SEC could be more helpful to the average consumer if they ask companies to appoint a corporate historian who recorded plainly in public record a narrative anyone could follow. I'm not angry, just disappointed. Yeah, well, we got more disappointment coming. But you know what? I do believe, as Jesse Hines says here, and shout out to him, and I'm not mistaken, Jesse Hines has got a new project he's working on as the CEO of Seed Starter. So make sure you check that out as well. People think the crackdown, because the US SEC is adding attorneys to crypto enforcement unit, and obviously a lot of us are like, wah, 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 right? But nevertheless, I think Jesse makes a great point here, and we've tried to make this point ourselves here multiple times. People think the crackdown is here. It's not yet. It's coming, though. And here's the hottest take of them all. It will ultimately be what's best for investors. The road there will be terrible and unnecessary. Why do I say that? Every day, numerous companies take advantage of people by using phrases like own and earn and community run and decentralized, but at the end of the day, these are just marketing tools to raise money. When push comes to shove, it will always end the same way. The company founders will prioritize their own profits in the name of what is best for the ecosystem. Anyone who points it out or doesn't fit the mold is labeled a bad actor or a fudder. It really is interesting watching the psychology of a project. The regular people who invest in their project and were made promises get so desperate for returns that they cling on to every word of the founders, including negativity towards other founders perpetrate. It says here they internalize their leaders' hate, and even though it's often leaders' decisions that they directly affect their ability to make profit in their investment in the leader. It says here, back to the point, however, the answer is to protect those investors by actually giving them legal rights, entitlements, and protections as a result of their purchases. This is coming. I believe many crypto and NFT projects will be deemed to have raised money by way of security. We have said that here on this channel multiple times. It is important to know that I'm not implying that many NFTs or tokens are securities, but rather that many were packaged and sold in a security offering. And that's a very, very great distinction he's making right there. A really great distinction, there. That offering being the fundraising, the net effect of this will be protections to those who invested in the project. With that being said, the system is so messed up and backwards that it will actually start out by hurting the people they are supposed to protect. The more famous actors will be gone rather than the worst actors. It says here, but in the end, I do believe that will end up where we were meant to be. Investor protections process getting there will be honestly suck, but it will be slow. But that's his TED talk for now. And I say, I don't like regulation by enforcement, and the SEC could easily put a reference page bullet point list on how to come into compliance with digital assets. But this is spot on. A day will come when we all have investor protections. I just hope not all of these digital assets become securities to do so. Yeah, no doubt about it. Shout out to Jesse for an incredible thread there. Check out that seed starter he's working on. I bet it's going to be something. James Filan, shout out to Jim here. He tells us what you wanted to hear. SEC files a letter for supplemental authority in further support of its motion for summary judgment. And if I break this down as a non-lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but what I get out of this is that the SEC has taken steps to introduce something from about 50 years ago. And shout out to Bill Morgan for getting it right for us here. God bless all of these people out here that just help us with the legal analysis of this stuff. Bill's one of them. It says, thanks, James, for the notice. It says, short and to the point letter from the SEC. This relates to fair notice defense, which the SEC once decided against Ripple on its summary judgment motion. The defendant in this case, like Ripple, tried to rely on Upton versus SEC in a fair notice defense, but lost. The court found an old 50-year-old case gave the defendant fair notice, as it argues the Howey case and its progeny since then gave Ripple fair notice. The case, superficially at least, helps the SEC. It's not a binding decision on Judge Torres, and Ripple will seek to distinguish the case. Different facts, etc. It's not hard. In a non-crypto case, must the court deal with a new asset class as a fact or the misguidance to the market of a Hinman speech? I predict Ripple will not lose the fair notice defense at summary judgment just because of this decision. And I love hearing that. And I thanked him, and he says here, thanks, Brad. I wanted people to know that this will not cause delay, is not a binding precedent on the judge in the SEC versus Commonwealth Equity Services case. The district court judge distinguished Upton versus SEC, on which the defendant in that case relied on, which Ripple also relies. Does not mean Judge Torres will necessarily distinguish Upton versus SEC rather than apply and follow it on the different facts in the SEC versus Ripple case. It is worth noting that in the case on which the SEC relies, the failure to disclose conflicts of interest, which was the subject of compliance, had been an industry-wide standard of conduct for 50 years. quite different to the infancy of the crypto market and uncertainty about whether and what to extend securities laws, what extent securities laws apply. And that's where we have that on this day. My goodness, are we grateful for John Deaton, Jeremy Hogan, Jim Filan, Bill Morgan, and so many others that help us along the way here. Gratitude fills my heart. I'm so grateful for them and all of you. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.